Hey, what's going on, Wealth Warriors? Today we have a very, very special podcast. His name is Eric Bettis. He owns a demolition and junk car removal company out in sunny California. He's a Marine veteran and he gets so vulnerable. He shares a lot of great stories, a lot of great insights on what has helped him not only become a better person and life during and after the Marine Corps, his experiences, but also what has helped him scale his business. So please share this video, stick around, and I think you're going to get some valuable information. All right, guys, so this is Eric over here. He lives in California. As we said in the intro, he was a Marine. Well, there's no such thing as a prior Marine. It's always a Marine, right? So, Eric, if you want to just give a short introduction for the crowd, just so they kind of get to hear your voice and kind of get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, my name is Eric Perez. I'm out here in Cali, West Coast, Marine. I joined in 2003 and exited 2006. I was a 0331 machine gunner, and I was with my unit in 29 Palms, the armpit of America, aka the
Oh,
Stumps. Um, yeah, my unit was 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, 7th Marine Regiment.
I appreciate you throwing in your unit because I'm pretty sure there's people that are gonna watch and they're gonna be like, "Where's this guy?" It'd be interesting to see
Hmm
if they're like, I served with Eric. That'd be some crazy
Yeah, right. Like, damn, what a bag.
shit. um, but yeah, so you own a business. Would you mind getting into that a little bit, kind of talking
Yeah,
about that?
absolutely. So I started my business. It's called Dump Pros, and we do junk hauling and dumpster rentals. We do demolition, and yeah, uh, we do residential and commercial. So that's the scope of what we do.
Hell yeah, straight into the point. I like it.
Mhm.
All right, so well, with that being said, with that introduction, we'll kind of like go back to your origination in the Marine Corps. The audience here is a lot of prior service people who are in service thinking about joining and stuff like that. So I think this is um, apart from the business side, I know a lot of people are like very interested, um, especially during your era, during that year when conflict was like at the height of stuff. I know people would love to hear your story. So coming into the Marine Corps, what made you want to choose? Was there ever, like, oh, I wanted to be Air Force or Navy or Army?
Now, man, I mean, I said 9/11 had just recently happened, and I was like, all right, well, what could I do to take my part of ownership of the country? And I was just like, okay, well, what's the hardest thing I could do? Um, the hardest force or whatever you want to call that. And I was like, well, Army, man, I don't know, I didn't. It just didn't seem like that was a path that I wanted to run down. I was like, I saw the dress blues. I saw how squared away the Marines were, and I was like, fuck it, this is the route we're going. And I took, I remember I took the ASVAB and I scored like a 16 on it. And there, yeah, man. And the recruiter just laughed me out. He's like, bro, you got to be at least a 28 or whatever it was to get in. And I was just like, oh man, I just finished high school. So I was like, oh, how dumb, how dumb am I? I can't even score the minimum to get in. So, I started off and I worked up my way to learning all parts of the ASVAB, and so I ended up getting like a 63.
Damn.
And yeah, man, I was like I was pretty proud of the progression, and when they asked me what I wanted to do, I was like, well, I want to go, I want to go kill. That was my motivation to get out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, back then, something we hear a lot about is like the commercials back then. Like they're totally different. Was there any like Marine Corps commercial you saw where it was like, what were the ones around when if you even saw any back then?
I the few, the proud, the Marines, and it was like uh, a man slaying a dragon, and that was pretty much what it was. And I think one of the propagandas that really got me going was Saving Private Ryan. Like that movie was like, oh fuck,
Mm,
that hit me, and I was like, damn, I want to be a part of something like that. You know, I have some type of meaning in my life, so that's that's what pushed me to go in that direction.
that's interesting. So, um, maybe let's back up a little bit too. Um,
Mhm.
how were you raised and stuff like that? People come from
Mm.
different backgrounds. What kind of motivated you to like? Was your situation? Um, maybe you've always wanted to join. Have you always wanted that feeling, or did it just hit you when you're older, where you're like you had a call to service kind of thing?
No, I mean, as a little kid, I used to play water balloon fights in the front yard with my brothers and cousins. And I mean, where I grew up in Santa Ana, California, and it was like uh, a lower socioeconomic area, just a poor area of town, where you had a lot of raza, a lot of gang banging, and a lot of drugs. There was a lot of drugs out there, so you know, I got to see all aspects of life, from homeless people, from people getting shot like feet in front of me. As a little kid, my dad and I were cutting the lawn, and one of our neighbors across the street got shot in the stomach, and we saw him collapse right in front of us. So, it was like, okay, drive-bys were something that were a weekly thing. So, you know, uh, it felt like I was bred uh for the military, or conflict, or whatever you want to call that. But yeah, that was as a little kid, I would play water balloon fights, and just put my finger over over the water hose, and that was my machine gun. And so that was that's how I played war. I just wanted to be a fucking little badass warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny, man. So let's talk about your like MOS school. Were you like always just kind of set on like you could have maybe like taken a different route? Um,
Hmm.
I guess like, and you said you wanted to obviously kill and stuff, but you
Hmm.
obviously could have done it in other MOSs. And
Right.
was this the only one a lot like eradicated or not eradicated? Like that you were allowed to kind of like pick from because you had
No,
a good
so
ASVAB
yeah.
score, you know?
Yeah, I did, and I remember my recruiter telling me that there was different routes that I could take. Make sure to pick wisely, because that's what you were gonna enjoy for 4 years, or not enjoy. So I don't know. I felt like when I heard the word grunt, um, to me that made me feel like that was a G, that was a gangster right there. That to me, that was like that's what you're gonna go out, and you're gonna be throwing the putazos, and you're gonna be in the mix with everybody, and that was like what I felt was where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be doing another job. That just felt like I knew what gangbanging was. I knew what being shot at felt like. I knew that I wasn't afraid of that. So I was like, all right, well, I already know what time it is. Let's go this way.
You know what, man? I think you might have caused any cholo who's watching this think about becoming an O3 because
That's
you
right.
almost made me want to become an O3. Do you have any tattoos that are
Yeah.
O3 related?
Well, I got the Marine Corps, the EGA.
Let's go.
Yeah. And live free, and um some we the people. So yeah, man, just I don't know. I waited a real long time to get tattoos. I didn't have anyone. I only had a few when I was enlisted, and I just was like, yeah, I was, uh, just it took a while to manifest what I wanted and represent.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Once you get tattoos, it's people get tattoos on their faces, man, and they stuck with it, and you know, bad decision. But so let's kind of talk about so you end up going to obviously boot camp, and I guess since it was like at the height of the conflict, and when it came to your schooling and stuff like that, were you ever given any briefs like, hey, like shit is going down, like you're probably gonna die, or like what did briefs
hmm
kind of look like before you even, not
Yeah.
including
So
any workups?
so I remember going to SOI and then the School of Infantry and then Infantry Training Battalion. It was like that was a uh, so when I joined in March 16th, and the Operation Iraqi Freedom started March 17th and 2003. And so that's when they started pushing up. And so during boot camp, we would hear stories of former or drill instructors that were O3s and just went to different conflicts and stuff like that. So they would share with us like as we were cleaning our rifles, and eating chow. They would share stories and be like, you put yourself in that situation and think in that mindset, like, oh, I might be there, and I can't wait to be there. So um, fast forward, you get to School of Infantry and Infantry Training Battalion. You get your MOS, what you're going to be doing, and they tell you the instructors are basically telling you, well, this is your weapons. You're going to be proficient in it, and you need to be proficient. This is going to save lives and it's going to save other people's lives, not just yours. So you need to know this inside and out. And that was a big motivator to be like, oh fuck, there's other people that are relying on you, and you may be just a cog, but you are part of the machine that is the Marines. So you definitely don't want to leave your brothers down and downrange without knowing your equipment and being able to put rounds on target.
Wow. That I think that's what makes you guys so great. Like what you guys do is exactly how you said it. Like you are one with the weapon, and like
Mhm.
any other MOS, it almost feels just like we touch our gun during like our rifle quals and stuff like that, and like turn it back in, and that can just kind of like whatever. But like you guys, it's just like a certain pride. You have your weapons in and out, lights
Mhm.
off, nothing, and you disassemble, assemble, functions check, and all that stuff. A lot of
Absolutely,
pride that
man.
goes with it.
Absolutely. That's that.
Mhm.
So when we're at infantry training battalion, they would ITD, they would be like, we would be racing each other to see first of all, who was the most proficient, second, the fastest, and so like everybody took pride in making sure they knew their max effective range. So it just it made it you elevated the next person by motivating them because your shit was on top and you didn't want to be left out. And you wanted to be up there.
You said something there too that really like just made like a light bulb flicker in my head. It was like knowing the maximum effective ranges and like just knowing your weapon and like just those key aspects of it, because it's like almost reminds me of like the moment of Karate Kid where he's like hitting the same shit over and over again and he's like getting tired of it, and it's like you don't need it till you need it. And it's
hmm
like you you don't leave the house. You leave the house every day with your gun, and that you get lazy with it, and the moment you don't take it, you need it, kind of a thing. And it's like this thing that you constantly like reiterate in your head, and like uh, there's a lot of times in the Marine Corps where things maybe like just seem like that, like it just like, man, this shit again, like minuscule kind of
hmm
stuff. But when you say it that way, it I think it, for me at least, it like made the whole new meaning just kind of different for me hearing you say that.
Yeah, there's when I was in Iraq, there was a sign that was placed out in um, every time we would leave the base. It said complacency kills, and like at first I didn't recognize what the meaning was. Like I didn't know what complacency was. Um, but once I understood what that word was, it made a lot more sense because it made me like recognize that that word is telling you exactly what you're saying. Don't be complacent in your actions because they can kill.
Beautifully said, man. Beautifully said. Okay, so now you hit your unit. You said you were with what unit did you say you were with
Third
again?
Third Battalion, 4th Marines, Cat 2, Weapons Company. Um,
And
yeah.
oh,
Good.
sorry, you were saying?
Now, they were just one of the baddest fucking units out there. I mean, they took down the statue of Saddam um, when they did the invasion, and they had numerous Bronze Stars recipients, just a bunch of savage veterans that knew the ins and outs of combat. So that's why I was like, when I got to them, I didn't know who they were. I was like, 29 Palms. What the fuck is this? This is a fucking desert. Like, what are we doing out here? I didn't even. I looked for every excuse not to be there, but it was just like it was the best place I could be as far as training wise and leadership wise and everything. All I couldn't be tasked with anything better.
That's awesome. Like you say that, and like the thing I automatically think about is like leadership because like leaders could make or break a unit, and you obviously had good leadership to where like everyone did good, and people were like looking out for the person to the left and right of them, which is obviously what keeps people alive and gets decides whether that's what gets people killed or not. Um, so you get to 29. Was your workup kind of like immediate, or um, what did it look like going straight into 29?
So the my unit was in doing cold weather training in up north in man I can't
Bridgeport.
remember. Yeah, Bridgeport. There you go, Bridgeport. That's
Hmm.
exactly where it was at. And they were telling they were coming back the week after when I got there. So I just was checking in. I got to meet the whole platoon, and we started doing workups. We got into CAX. It was like I don't know what they call it now. I think it's like I don't even know what they call it now, but it was like a workup with other combined units and fire and move, uh, so it was interesting to implement your tools in a setting like that. I mean, we knew that we were going to be in that atmosphere, but to get into it and put rounds down range on target was like, oh, this is real. This is it felt very fucking cool, man. You're doing your job, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Like being able to uh, use my 50 cal and hit targets, 1,500 meters out. You know, watching your tracers just land on target, and it's a dream.
Yeah, it's freaking badass. So were there any like I'd imagine just getting there is maybe even like a culture shock. Like, did you see people who were like, like missing limbs or people who were like getting back and they were just like did you see any of that where it kind of like hit you in a way like damn like this is it?
No, there was no visible signs of combat. It was just like there were just some salty motherfuckers that were out there that were like, "Who the fuck are you?" And come here, boot. And you had lance corporals with fucking combat experience and PFCs and privates that were combat vets, and so it made for an interesting time. When the boot dropped and you got people that were uh some people went their whole career without going to combat, So here you got these 18, 19, 20-year olds that are fucking salty as shit, and they're so we didn't see that. We didn't see any visible scars or anybody wounded or anything like that. Thankfully, my unit didn't have that.
That's crazy because I think even now, I think they did away with like the ketchup stripe, the national defense ribbon. I think that's the one it's called.
Uh,
Like people who are graduating are just like they don't got shit. So it's
mm.
like, and now during peacetime, it's like years from now, it's gonna be crazy seeing a drill instructor with like two ribbons or something. I don't know. I mean, unless
Not
something happens, with this conflict going on right now, but
right.
who
Knife hand
knows?
in the recruit
Yeah,
with one badge.
exactly. Yeah, it looked
Yeah,
freaking ridiculous.
yeah.
Um,
It's cool though. I mean, ribbons are dope. I mean, but something about just you can't put ribbons to experience. Not always, right? Like your experience as a human and as a Marine is pretty fucking uh pretty badass in its own right.
you say that, and there's a lot of people who are ribbon chasers, as you know, and
Oh,
it's always the people who are like the most stacked that say that. Like they're just humbled, they're like, like ribbons don't mean shit kind of thing.
mm,
So, and it sounds it's really, I guess, like nice to hear you say that, especially like from someone who went through a time where there was actual conflict.
mm.
Um, so you get your workup done. How long did it take from you hitting your unit to your workup to actually getting deployed?
So I got to my unit August 31st of 2003. Did our workup in September. Deployed in November. No, I'm sorry. Deployed in December to Okinawa for a unit deployment, and we did a workup out there where it was jungle warfare training and just different type of environment, completely different than the desert. So, beach runs and fucking getting smoked out there and humid weather. So, I mean, it was cool. It was definitely an experience, a fun one.
So it took you maybe roughly like what, like maybe 8 months, maybe a
Hmm.
year till you got deployed.
Yeah. So, let me see. Yeah. March, April, May, June, July. This is math for Marines here.
Same. And you got to use fingers, man. Yeah,
Yeah, eight
you got
months,
to.
man. Yeah. So that's when we ended up flying to Iraq in February, and we got to Baghdad um in that time. So it was pretty interesting. It was a 37-hour flight on a C-130. So I mean, yeah, it was a pretty interesting sight to see a bunch of fucking war fighters stuck on a wooden bench. I mean, it was like it was interesting. Like people were resting their heads on their fucking the buttstock of their weapons, and trying to get whatever kind of rack ops that they could get. So it was that was an experience.
Damn. So
Yeah.
what was it like? Like actually boots on the ground. You get off the plane. Like what was it like for you? Do you still remember the feeling where it's just kind of like
Yeah. Damn, this is real. This is so. When we got off the tarmac, we saw, or I saw an F-18 flying. We got there like at 2 in the morning, and just to see that rocket, the afterburners, the blue tip on it, just it was a fucking unusual sight, but a beautiful sight, and just the sound of their blasting was just like, oh shit, this is real. And I remember like checking in and getting our vehicles and stuff like that. Like, oh, is this what we're going to do? Is this where we're gonna get attacked from? Where's the enemy at? Like not knowing. that we were in a safe spot, not knowing that this was a safe zone in Baghdad. And so, as a fucking boot lance corporal, um, I was just a machine gunner on my vehicle, and I was just like, okay, no better friend, no worse enemy. Here we go. Let's get after it.
Let's go.
Uh-huh.
And then so this is like another thing where, man, I'm very intrigued with this part because um, you were in a specific time where um, it is at the height of it. And obviously as time went on, rules of engagement changed.
Hmm.
Um, so for you going in before landing and stuff like that, like what was your guys' mission and what was your guys' ROEs or rules of engagement for people that who don't know what that is?
Man, so our mission was to draw out insurgents and basically pick fights with them. Go out into town and um, try to. So our area of operation was the Haditha Dam, which is right next to the Euphrates and Tigris River. So that's the big dam that we were at, and we would go. Our area of operation was our base camp, and then our area of operation was in Haditha and Barwana. So we would go out, just maneuver and patrol the city, try to draw fire, try to uh, pick fights with the fucking bullies and see what's up. And we the Iraqis that were there in the city, they didn't they didn't seem like they wanted us there. They said that they were glad that we were there. They were glad that we were a safe force because the other people that were coming in, the insurgents were, uh, they were the bullies of the town.
Other people coming in, as in the insurgents or other.
Yes,
Uh,
the insurgents, the other so we found out that they weren't just Iraqis. They were coming in from Lebanon. They were coming in from um, different parts, Jordan, just different. They wanted to fight. They wanted to fight the Americans. So as they were coming in, we would catch them with uh, passports from when we detained them from different countries. So that's why that's why I said different people.
okay. Um, you also mentioned how you were there during a specific time,
Mhm.
Operation Vigilant Resolve. Um,
Yes.
what do you mind explaining that to the viewers on kind of like what what were the leading events that led into that key thing?
Yeah. So there was in 2004 April there was some contractors, some Blackwater contractors that were hung on a bridge by insurgents, and they were told that, or we were told that they were, gear up. We're gonna go. This was in the city of Fallujah, Ramadi, and they were. It was just gonna the shit hit the fan. Let's go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go down. And so when we got the call, we drove down there at night, blackout. It was like a 7-hour drive from where we were at. And when we drove into the city of Fallujah, man, it looked like a fucking fireworks show, uh, Texas style on the fucking on New Year's. You guys go crazy out there, but like the RPGs, the fucking like uh, uh, the rounds, the green tracers. I had never seen green tracers up until then. Like I thought green tracers were fireworks. And then when we saw it, they were like, "Oh no, that's the enemy's tracers." We're like,
Oh
"Oh
shit!
shit, yeah." So we're like, "Oh, everybody has red tracers." My naive thought was everybody has red tracers. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh shit." So we go into Fallujah. We get word by General Mattis that we're going to be going into Fallujah, and it's going to be an assault. We're going to be on the, I can't remember the exact location of where we're at, but we're on Route Michigan and Phase Line Drill. Those were the two areas that we were at. So, and uh, when we crossed the line of departure, that was a very interesting feeling. It was like, oh, fuck, here we go. This is our Super Bowl. This is what we trained for. And I mean, I really mean that everything that we trained for, all the situations and scenarios, it was just like when we got to the game, there was no hesitation to what we were doing. Our rules of engagement was to engage the enemy and fix, flank, and fuck them up. Those were our rules of operation. That's how we were told. Everybody was given the opportunity to flee the city, and those that stayed and remained there um, were either enemies or unlucky. And so that's
Damn.
yeah. And we got to it, man. We got to it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I mentioned that because for the people who are watching and don't know, the rules of engagement changed a lot over time. So, like for you guys, it was like fuck them up, and then
Hmm.
as time went on, it was like you almost had to have something being drawn on you in order to like
Hmm.
even do anything, or like Roger up to a certain person in order to do something. Um, so that's very interesting. The other thing that you talked about was um, every Marine knows who Mad Dog Mattis is. What was your interaction with him, if you ever had any, and how was his like leadership at the time?
Oh man, he was an awesome leader. Got to interact with him. He wanted us to take charge of. So basically, everybody was. We had a combined effort with the Army. We had a bunch of Bradleys that were pushing from one side of the city uh, to make to funnel them out towards our way, so we can mow down those that were trying to evacuate the city, or try to flee, or whatever you want to call that. So the way he explained it to us was, guys, I have an amazing letter from him, man. It's he wrote this um letter that basically dictates that we're going to be going into war. This is our Guadalcanal, um, and don't be afraid of doing your job, basically. And like that was a great motivator, because it was like, all right, well, cool. This is coming from the higher up. This the man that's fucking sending us. And he was cool. He was funny. He he was just like a normal just the way you and I are interacting, bro. That's him. Very down to earth. And when he meant business, he meant business.
Absolutely, man. And it's funny. People call him Dad. Everyone
Mm.
who's a Marine, they usually call him Dad. And um, I had the pleasure of meeting him once this year too. And like you said, just so down to earth. He's real gentle, super hilarious, man. And he's just
Hmm.
um, it's very great memory too. And he's just a really great person, very humble, and like to for you to say that, like he really got to know his Marines in that way, and
Yes.
to just being able to, there's certain higher ups where you maybe feel like you can't talk to them because
Hmm.
there's that wide gap. But for him, it was just like obviously he is a higher ranking and stuff like that, but it was just like it almost didn't matter in a way.
Yeah, for sure. He
Um,
didn't see you as anything less. He saw you as the main support of what we're doing.
Absolutely. So your day in, let's talk about like a little bit of your deployment. So how long was the duration of your deployment?
6 months.
Six
So we
months.
were there from,
So
yeah. So February, March, April, May, June, July. So 5 months out. Yeah, something like that.
And what was your like your day to day like waking up to maybe going out in the city or to like to coming back or like working out. A lot of people, like working out was like a big thing, back
Mm,
then. And maybe like what also was your interaction with maybe even family? Because I'm sure family was like scared, like that you probably weren't going to make it back. So
yeah.
what was that kind of like for you?
Um, so the my mom I was married, or I am married. Um, my wife would be writing letters every day, and what when this time in Fallujah, we would still be getting packages, and I would be getting care packages. Uh, you know, they called it pogie bait, just uh dry Mongols, beef, hot beef jerky. Um, fuck, man, I mean, you needed those Mongols to push through those fucking MREs, man.
Yeah,
And so it was like that was cool. That was a great support. Like my wife would always write me and send me packages and just like as if I wasn't gone. Just I remember diving deep into my writing and sharing my day with her and stuff like that. So that made me feel like I still had a contact back at home where I was that kept me grounded. That allowed me to function on a different capacity where I was still able to compartmentalize that phase of my life and still be able to deal with this part, this other aspect of my job, So um, I would call my parents. We had a sat phone and a satellite phone, and I would call often, and whenever we had a chance, it was it was interesting to be like, are you okay, mijo? Is everything, we're praying for you, and grateful for all of it, all the family support and all the love. My dad is typical Mexican dad. Uh, hey, mijo, échale ganas.
of course.
Just animo, animo. Just and that made me feel like, okay, cool, fuck it, let's go. We're here to do this. We're here to get after it, and that was cool. I love being able to write to my family because that was like my way of release, right? Like you're on this shift and you're on this timeline of life, and you get a little break, whether it's sleeping and or you're getting off watch, and you have this time to decompress. So that definitely helped me out, made me feel
That's
like
awesome,
I was
man.
loved.
And you're married. You're married. So I mean,
Yes,
we'll
sir.
we'll come back to that. But um, it's crazy that you're still married. And
Mhm.
like and we'll come back to that. But um, and then as far as like waking up and stuff, like what, like were you always going into the city? Was there a lot of downtime? What did that kind of look like for you guys?
Okay, so I like to break it up in a couple of phases. So my first phase when we were in Haditha, we were on a schedule like it felt like we had one day off and 6 days on, and we had two sections, and we both patrolled the cities and different. They would take the rear, we would take lead, and so we would go out and do our patrols. Or sometimes we do dismounted patrols, sometimes we do mounted. So I mean, when we would get up, it would be uh, they had we were stationed in the den, and we had a rack, and that was very much like that was our barracks, and we stayed at the third floor, and there was like fucking 33 floors that you had to walk up to the top, and yeah, man, I was like, fuck, we couldn't find anything closer.
A full kit too?
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my gosh!
So we would pull watch up there, and everybody would be you would find shit to do. Like I loved fucking laughing, dude. Like I remember we had our battalion no our company gunny, he was a master sergeant, and his name was Master Sergeant Trader, and he stayed with us for a night, and I was like, hey, Top, it's your turn for Firewatch. He's and he was like, oh hell no, Devil Dog. You know how many rockers I got under this thing? No, I don't do Firewatch. I was like, I don't know, Master Sergeant, your name's on the list. I don't know what to tell you. He's like, you better get the fuck away from me. Oh man, day gone. I gotta get some sleep. So just like just try to figure out how to fucking laugh and have fun, with laugh with your brothers, dude. Like, so that's what kept me going. And we did work out. It would be like three guys, and we'd fucking do like jailhouse workouts, burpees, crunches, pull-ups, fucking sandbags, just whatever we could do, ammo cans and fucking, tricep dips and all that, just whatever we could do to get a workout. And we didn't get to run up. We didn't get to run much. It was we shared the dam with some Russian soldiers, and they had one section. And when they were on patrol, they would fucking sneak up on you, and they'd be like, "Hey, what's the password of the day?" They'd fuck who, and you'd fire off the password of the day, but they'd be fucking with you, man. They would be like, they wanted to catch you slipping, and they would have their hand on that fucking on their charging handle on their AK, so they would just like rock it back as they asked you a question. So that's what that looked like. We'd get haircuts on Sundays, and we would have uh one of my homies, Alex Peters. He was the platoon fucking barber. Would hook everybody up, man. Oh, you motherfuckers, you gotta give me a pack of smokes. Yeah. So just it's a cool times. Just we'd get our letters. So that was uh, up until Fallujah, and then once Fallujah hit, we were basically tasked out on our Humvees, and we would be pulling guard every 4 hours, and I would be up on the turret for day shift, and switch it out. And but once Fallujah wrapped up, and we went back to Haditha, and that was how we wrapped it up.
Okay. Um, before I move on to the next thing, yeah, I like when you said that story. I couldn't help but think you were like there's always that one person or like a couple people who are like almost like the class clown, and like everyone
Mhm.
wants to be around them, like, and that's so important in like shitty times like that because everyone's fucking sucking, but then like you're like the light of the room. You walk in and you crack a joke, and while everyone's already in the dumps, like, embrace the suck kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I felt that way. I mean, I was a class clown. I remember I got that from in high school, and I thought, like, laughter is the fucking key to enjoying life, bro. Like
Mm,
I make that my go-to when, like you said, enjoy the stuff. This is just part of it. Fucking don't look past it, and don't look through it. Just fucking be it, and make fun of it. That's what you're here for.
hell yeah, I like that. Hey, what's going on, Wealth Warriors? If you find this video of any value, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. Share this video to your friends and family. And if not, don't do it, all right? Let me earn it, but continue watching. I think you're going to get some valuable information. Other than that, back to our scheduled programming. Thank you for your support. Um, so there was a few things that had happened too. You had said that there were a couple times you guys got hit. You mind explaining that? You mentioned you got hit by an IED. What did that look like for you? And um, like, did it feel just kind of like a normal day kind of thing, or like, and when it happened, like, what were your thoughts going on in that exact moment, if you remember?
Yeah. So we were driving, and we were heading to one of our cities, It was bar one, and there was a long stretch, and our first vehicle passed, and we were the rear vehicle that time, and all I saw was the IED go off, and the vehicle in front of me got hit, and the person that was in the vehicle commander spot, the passenger seat, was he wasn't there. He For some reason he wasn't there, and there was a piece of shrapnel that had gone through, I believe the right fender of the Humvee, and it landed, and it tore a hole right in the headrest where he yeah. So that was one, and then we had gotten hit, and it just felt like a normal day. We were tasked out to look for IDs, blow them up. We had Mark 19s to be able to reach out and touch them without getting close. So that was we would set up overwatch positions to see where the insurgents were digging in, and at that time they were planning daisy chain IEDs with 155 rounds. So they were the big was that, and all you saw was smoke and a dust cloud. So you didn't really you weren't aware of your surrounding other than, fuck, am I okay? And what, my ears are ringing, but other than that, am I okay? Or is anybody else here? Put your hand on everybody. Okay, everybody, Roger up, and that stuff. But yeah, that was what that looked like.
Wow. Well, it's great to hear that no one got hurt and that you're okay. Um,
Mhm.
and God bless and then rest the souls who did pass away, because there was a very large number. So um,
Mhm.
I don't know if you got lucky, but I think you are definitely blessed. Maybe you are here for a reason, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, but before I guess we kind of conclude the deployment piece of this, is there any like, do you ever kind of like get like, I don't know, like like mild like PTSD, where you like wake up and you're just kind of like, or do you miss it? Um,
Mhm.
like, is that something that you often think about, because it was like you said, it was like you were excited about it, kind of thing, or like, does it haunt you in some sort of way, or um, how do you cope with that?
I feel like that's just an experience. And I mean, at first it was very hard to navigate that path because I didn't know how to explain or express myself in a way that voiced those feelings, thoughts, emotions, sensations, stuff like that. The ringing, uh, tinnitus, like even the trauma from the ID. Like, you don't even recognize that later on you're gonna have those um, symptoms and anything like that. So it's just really learning how to figure yourself out, like understand yourself in order to better understand others. Like that's one thing that it took a while to do. But I definitely feel like that's where Iraq was where I was born, where I was able to come to life and figure out what the fuck I am about, and not, just what school taught me, not what my parents taught me. What the fuck did I do on my own for myself to be able to grow as myself and, let that really flourish. And it looked really scary at times because there was like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I drinking so much? Why am I blacking out? Uh, why am I hoping for all these things, right? So, you know, I uh, I learned how to get my voice, to speak my truth and figure out what that really looks like. And do I miss it? I miss my brothers. And we get together every Friday and we have a Zoom call and I get to see my platoon commander, my platoon sergeant, and all, and so yeah, I get my fix in that way, and that's really been a healing process that has taken, I've been out of the Marine Corps since 2006, September 26th, and it feels like it was just the other day. So it was just like learning how to learning this new version of myself because we're always changing, we're always transitioning into new phases of life and new parts, and that was just one of them. So PTSD. I mean, it has a lot of things that you just you're learning your new self, and sometimes there's a lot of dark areas in there that you have to, like you said, shine the light on.
Absolutely, man. And well, firstly, like, thank you for sharing that with the people here, because um, I bet you there's a lot of people who struggle with the same thing, and you like just gave, I think, the answer to like anyone who's going through stuff like this is you still have that same call with these people, and that's so incredible. I like that is badass. Like almost 20 years, right? Almost like 18
Yeah,
years from now, you're still in touch with them and you're still doing that. That is so inspiring. And, it's like one brother watching after another. And that's kind of what this whole thing is about. It's a brotherhood. It's what brought us here, too, at the end of the day. But I'm really happy you found a way to cope with it. A lot of
yeah,
people drinking, especially, like it, man, that's, yeah, growing up in the hood, I'm sure you had like deals and stuff like that, and
yeah,
that's shit that you grew up with, and you obviously didn't want to be around that, and you saw what it did, and you saw yourself going down this similar path, and to hear that, it shifted, and now you're still keeping in touch with your brothers, it's incredible, man. It's really, really great to hear. So I guess now we'll take it back to you kind of going home. What was that like for you? Like, I know you kind of talked about it right now. It was like you're trying to find ways to cope with it, but
mm.
um, did you ever feel like this is not where I want to be, or like I'm glad I'm back at that place? Like what was that kind of like for you?
Man, I had a mixture of emotions of like, well, first of all, I was grateful to be back. Um, I celebrate July 14th every year because that's the day I got back, and it's like um my wife, my parents, my sister, my brother, they all came out, my brother-in-law, to greet me, and it's like that was my homecoming, and that felt so good to be like, oh, I'm home. And as far as like going back there, um, I had my thoughts and feelings about that. I felt like I we weren't doing what I had originally thought we were gonna be doing, and it was like what are we doing out here? What do we do? And but aside from that, like I said, it was a mixture of emotions as far as that, which is pretty hard to navigate that because you're like conflicted. You're out there defending your brothers, right? Like that to me, that was my ultimate goal. But the other aspect of that is like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we there? And so those mixtures of emotions and thoughts and feelings is like, okay, correct. I don't want to be back there. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to. I felt like I did everything I needed to do out there, and that was what that looked like. And coming home just made me feel like, all right, next part. What what's next for us?
Nice. Hey, man, family is so important. I know we're gonna get to that later in the conversation, but um, again, another thing you celebrate. That's super cool. Yeah, you said July 14th is
Yeah,
what it is every year.
July 14th. Yeah, man. That it's funny because I remember that day. I remember my enlistment. And those are all milestones in the sense like I don't dwell on it. I just celebrate it. I mean, it's just like it's like, hey, that to me that's a birthday. That's a birthday. I got to come home and be born again. What do I want to do? What did I want to change? How did I? what promises did I make to myself that I would be and not ever, I remember saying when I was deployed in Iraq, I would be like, um, I'll never fucking complain about a job. No matter how bad my job is, it could never be equivalent to this. You know, 137 degrees in the fucking in the shitter, and it's like, yeah. So no, you can't complain. So what promises and how am I gonna be my best version?
Man, I think that's part of like what makes you such a great father too to your kids. Um, but like you're not the first person I hear this from like vets who were around during that same time. It was like they were after going through that, they're like they will never find anything to complain about.
Hmm.
Um, and that's crazy. It truly is. So
Yeah,
then
man.
what happened to? No, sorry, you were saying.
I was just gonna share one thing with. So I remember my platoon commander telling us that negativity is the biggest poison. Like it's so infectious, it's so contagious.
Hmm.
If you allow that negativity to breed, it's a roaring fire. So complaints is one of the ways you eliminate that. You can't allow that to even manifest in thoughts, emotions, anything like that. So that's that was pretty important, and I still, like I said, I keep that close to my heart for that one.
That's awesome. Years after you still remember that. That's dope.
Absolutely.
That's cool. So then we're gonna talk about like how it happened that you got out of the Marine
Okay.
Corps. Um,
Absolutely.
no, you mentioned there were some incidents and you had a hard time coping with certain things. Do you mind
Mhm.
explaining to the audience, how
Absolutely.
that kind of transcribed how you dealt with it and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I remember like the first incident that I noticed that I had a temper and a really bad temper was we were going to the Marine Corps ball, and my wife was calling me, and I had just blown up on her, and I knew why I was mad, but I couldn't explain it. And that was even more frustrating because it was like, how don't you know what I'm thinking? And it was like, that's such a fucking bonehead move, right? Like, but it's so, it was so real, and it was so, hard to explain. And I remember throwing my phone, breaking it, and just like, it was just an escalation of not being able to communicate my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It was just like hard to express myself because I felt like nobody understood. You know, things that I was trying to work through, I was running away from, like, sleeping only a couple hours a night, waking up, searching for my fucking weapon on my hip, and, my K-bar every night, waking up, making sure I would touch it. And it was just a force of habit. And so these things that I just thought were things that happen, and they do. I didn't recognize them as things that I needed to, probably that I needed to work through. I just didn't. It was so fresh that it was hard for me to communicate my interactions with other people. I was very short tempered. And, I chalked it up because I thought, oh, well, it's just, I'm a Marine. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I drink. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fucking be an idiot. Right? Like, and, uh, fast forward, I, I had an injury on my right knee. I had surgery. It's funny because I can hear the story I'm telling, and I can hear how I chose to be my a victim in that story when I was living it. And as I'm telling it now, bits and pieces jump out, and like where I held on to those victimization of, oh wow, I wasn't being taken care of. Well, in reality, I wasn't doing my best part to be the best version of myself at that time. So, I found other ways to cope. Uh, using excuses on not to be deployed, to get out. So I drug popped. I popped on a piss test, THC, and it's funny because you had said, oh, that you fucked up, and I thought, um, on how I got out. I didn't think that it was a fuck up. I thought it was an experience, and that's how I look at it now. At the time, I thought it was a fuck up because I'm sure that I'm the one that said that because I felt like a fuck up, and but the reality was I needed to get out. It wasn't good for my mental health to be in it, and it wasn't good for the Marines around me. The negativity was just toxic. I was the negativity. I was the one that was allowing that to breed. And looking at it now, I can recognize that, and I can sense, how I manipulated that story to be able to fit it and mold it to how I needed it to be. So I don't know, man. I felt like weed, drink. I used to drink a lot, and would smoke marijuana all the time, and that was my way of coping and learning how to soothe. I wasn't sleeping much, 1 to 2 hours a night, and it was pretty bad. So that helped me relax, and that was my way of that was my exit. So September 26, 2006, I was discharged, other than honorable.
Well, thank you for sharing that. You showed well, for one, you're being vulnerable. And it takes a lot for somebody to man up to, especially something as significant like that. And you said a lot of very important things that I think, specifically the stuff about being a victim. Um, I think maybe people may even still be in that situation right now, and maybe they are not seeing it in that same light as you are now. So kind of like transitioning out of the Marine Corps, what was your next step? What you were kind of just like new to a civilian. People going out of service, they're usually kind of like scared, like what am I gonna do, kind of a thing. Like what was going on in your head, and what did you resort to?
So I knew how to grind. I knew that I could do physical labor. And my father-in-law at the time was working construction and tile work, and I was just like, well, I could fucking do that. I can work in that aspect. And I knew that he showed me the ropes. He showed me how to lay tile, how to do demolition, stuff like that for residential work. And it was cool because it made me feel like I had a sense of purpose. Okay, this is my new beginning. This is where I'm gonna be starting off. And I was living with my mother-in-law and father-in-law in the city of Riverside, and we are like, okay, we need to get a house. My wife and I, we need to get a house. We need to figure out what we're gonna do. And so you know, we went looking for a house, and how am I going to afford it? I don't rate the GI Bill, or what is it called?
The VA home loan.
Yes, yes. I didn't at the time. I didn't have the opportunity to use that. Um, I didn't have any ratings or anything like that. When I got out, it was like separation or whatever. I don't know how that all looked, but it was interesting because we found a home. It was right next to a lake or a dam. And so I was just like, oh, this is the house. We have 2 acres. And, it's like I needed land. I needed to be away from everybody in the city and stuff like that to get my own peace of mind and stuff. So, got a home, got work, life was going good. And, I had surgery, uh, again in 2012. And that's when I really hit the switch as far as like uh, going to school. I got my contractor's license for tile and my building inspection, residential and commercial. And I was just like, you know, I thought that was the path. That was the path I was going to. And I don't know, it switched up and I ended up leaving. I didn't want to do the home inspection. I didn't want to do the the physical work anymore. And that it's pretty grueling sitting on your knees and laying tile and stuff. So I was just all right, cool. Next phase. And when I had that surgery, it was downtime, and that downtime really fucking made me look at myself and uh, my my story, my adventure of combat and everything else like that. So um, I went back to I went to the VA and I got graded and all that other stuff. And I started going to counseling. And, I found a group that really fucking changed my life, helped me realize where I was telling the story and from what perspective. And, that really like flipped the switch for me to be like, oh, okay, all right, I can learn from other people's stories without having to go through their incidences. And, do I want to raise my family this way? Do I want, and in all honesty, I was really afraid of me passing down my PTSD to my kids and my wife. That was really one of the biggest things that was like a big motivator to be, hey, you need to fucking change because how you're dealing with things is not the best outlet. So, I went back to school and I got my AA at a community college. And I started at the bottom, the lowest math, the lowest reading, English, everything. It took a while to get to be able to take college courses again, which I felt I was grateful for it because it was like that was my new start. That was my zero rock bottom. Now I can just build up from here. So, that was very humbling too, because like I remember I found myself crying, like on the first week of school, and I was just like, this is, I want to this school up and I want to, I bring this up to say this, it reminded me of PTSD because you cannot manipulate it. You cannot go around it and you cannot intimidate it. You have to deal with it. And yeah, that was my realization of like, okay, this is where I need to be because it's challenging me. I have to. I'm uncomfortable with these new people around me, and I used to think they don't know anything about me. They don't have anything in common with me. They're young kids, and so again, a realization of my mindset was like, okay, well, keep an open mindset, figure this out and be okay with everybody around you because they're just as valuable as you are. They have wisdom, they have knowledge, they have experiences, and yeah. So that was and then I went and I transferred to UCI, Chicano Latino Studies, and I got my bachelor's of science there, and I'm a proud vato from UCI.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. So, man, you talked on a lot of really good gems there. Um, but I kind of want to bring it back a little bit too. You said you
Mhm.
found a group. Was this group associated with the VA?
Yeah, it's the vet center. It was the vet center group that met. So I was meeting with my therapist every biweekly, and he recommended that I go and see this PTSD group that was a bunch of combat vets that talked about issues that and and they talked about scenarios and how to recognize things that were like how things escalate, breathing, temperature, sweat, pulse, things like that that are indicators, you know. And so, that helped me out, realize, recognize the symptoms before the bridge was out.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, well, I mentioned that just so maybe there's people who are going through a similar thing, and now for those of you watching, now you know a resource that's available. But secondly, wow, like you know this, like we both know this, like growing up as a Mexican, they're always tell you, like your feelings don't matter, like get the fuck up,
Right.
like stop being a bitch, like
Uh-huh.
when you're like you're sad, you're depressed, bitch, get back to work, kind of thing, like.
Yes, sir.
But I think it says a lot about your character for real, to have the humility to be able to bring yourself back, and um, you know, I I would think like going through a group like that, it's totally different from all these years that you were raised, and now all of a sudden, you're thinking about making a change. So like that's so massive, man. That is so massive because like this is only a small piece of like someone's childhood, and like you grew up thinking like I was taught my feelings don't matter all along, and it's this is how you coped with it. It's incredible, man.
Thank you. Definitely a learning process, and I'm still being taught daily. Humble.
Yes, sir. So you graduate school, and when was that switch where you said you were laying down tile and stuff? So I guess when was that switch where you decided I want to be my own boss? I want to open up a business. What made you kind of tired of that?
I think when you feel like you can, like there was a time where I felt like, oh well, shit, I can do this job. I can run a crew. I know how to, I know the aspects of it. It was like SOI all over again. Like learning what type of materials stick to the ground, how to prepare the ground, how to prepare the substrate, and like what is level, what is, so just gaining that knowledge from my father-in-law, and he was definitely a mentor of mine that showed me that hard work, um, and dedication was one of the things that how that he showed me too. So and he was okay with, he said, go out and do your thing. You're good enough to be able to make it.
And so at this time, you're married, obviously, and like that is so inspirational. Like I feel like I have a good lady. I think I'm winning, but like to hear your story and you went through all that and for her to stick around, like it shows how like she was your high school sweetheart, right? You said.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. High school sweetheart.
You never hear about that anymore, man. Like, and like you guys went through that, like all that stuff, and um, through all these trials and tribulations, and now uh, you guys are doing great. You guys are doing great. So
Oh, man. Thank
whenever
you.
whenever it came to you guys, of course, whenever it came to you making the switch, what kind of play did, or I guess what did your wife think about, like you wanting to start your own business?
Man, she was my biggest supporter, bro. She helped me out. She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And that was one of the biggest things that helped me feel like, fuck it. Uh, she would always tell me, babe, you could do anything you want. If you want to be a fucking singer, you could be a singer. All you have to do is take classes. And I thought that was the dumbest thing, but it was the coolest thing, because like here is this extreme, right? Like I'm thinking, uh what the fuck am I gonna be doing singing? And she's saying you could do that if you want to. And she would tell me, you could be an astronaut if you want to. All you have to do is take classes to do that. You don't have to be born knowing anything. So, don't limit yourself to one thing. If you want to go do it, fucking do it right now. Right now is the time to do it. And like she was my inspiration to go back to school. I had 14 years of a gap of school, so she was like, do it, baby. You could do it. and she helped me get my ASVAB to the 60s, you know. So I truly give it up to my wife. She is definitely my support and somebody that I look up to and respect deeply. You know, she's a very powerful woman that helps me out.
Is there son right there?
Yeah.
He looks like you. um,
Yeah,
just with hair though.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but man, this might sound better at the end, but I guess I want to kind of like your story is so incredible, which is why I felt honored to have you on because um, you are definitely um, you go against all odds, if that makes sense. So you went through your experiences in the Marine Corps and you got out and you changed your life around and you had a wife who supported you. And there's always this stigma about grunts. Like grunts, they're stupid. They they're all just rock eaters. They're never gonna their
Mm-hmm.
MOS does not translate to any other job. And even you,
Correct.
after 14 years out of schooling, like you were able to get a bachelor's and you are now a business owner. Like you defied all odds, and that's why I really feel honored to have you on here. So I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So kind of going on the next topic. So, um, do you mind explaining more or less what you guys do for your business and what it encompasses, just for so everyone has kind of an idea of what you do, what you guys
Yeah.
do.
So we have our website. It's dumpyourshit.net, and
Mm-hmm.
um, we you go on there and you can we do junk hauling, we do dumpster rentals, and we do it for residential and commercial. Uh, we do demolition. We have our own skid steer, concrete breaker, low boys for concrete or dirt, and we have uh, trailers for rent too. So we that's what we do in a nutshell. And junk calling is like, you know, when we have customers call up or set up uh, an appointment saying, hey, I need a quote for I've got a shed that needs to be ran through. I need you to take everything out. So what we do is we'll go out and bid the job, and if there's stuff that can be recycled, we recycle it. If not, then it goes to the landfill. And that's what that looks like as far as that house.
Nice. So, um, you cover all of Orange County, correct? Or what
Hmm.
what areas do you cover?
Yeah, Orange County, and the Inland Empire.
That's a pretty big area. Do you ever have maybe aspirations to kind of I don't know, maybe spread further, or um, that you're good with here, or what's your mentality
Long
on that?
term, I mean, I really enjoy being able. So the way we set it up is, my wife and I are, she's my co-pilot, and we set up jobs so we can take our kids to school and still be able to run our business. So, you know, we wanted to be able to run our business and still live our lives. We do Orange County because we drive from Paris um, to Santa Ana to drop our kids off at school, and you know that allows us uh, to give our kids a better education. And it's an academy, a dual immersion academy for our boys. I have three boys. My oldest is Raul. He's 14. My middle is Joaquin, and he's 10. Joshua, the one you just saw, he is 8. And so my two younger ones go to El Sol Academy, and they are they've been there since kindergarten, and they learn Spanish, and they're immersed in that community where where I grew up. So that's where I feel like that's why we commute. That it makes sense to us. it makes sense for us to be running our business out in that area because we're out there, and when we're on this end of town, we can handle that side too.
You know, that's super nice to hear because it really ties in with on your website your hours Monday through Friday, off on weekends, and then it says that um, what does it say about family? It's like um, can you remind me? You mentioned family in there somewhere.
Um, I don't remember off the top of my head. That we're a family, a local family owned veteran
Yeah,
business.
there you go. And like I think that's just a nice way to kind of like tie this together. Is like the way you commute in your mornings, like you still find your family time, and you guys built your business to integrate around your family, which is like so inspiring. Like you're to run all like your operation and still have your family time on the weekends, and then even on weekdays too. Um, you guys are doing it, and there's always that argument, where it's like you can't have one; it has to be the other. It can't be
Mm.
both. And another thing you kind of defy the odds. It's like it's you're not one dimensional. It's like why not have both? Um, and that's so important. There's um, me personally as a family, like I wish I had both parents, um, and you're giving that to your kids and stuff, and more than that. Do they have any aspirations to join the Marine Corps like you?
Man, that's a great question. I asked them, but I try not to push that for them. I mean,
Hmm.
I want them to serve in whatever capacity they can, and if that's the Marine Corps or the Peace Corps or whatever that looks like, you know, it they I know that we're instilling, community service for them. So, that's what my wife and I are really trying to instill in them, service to those around you. So, whatever that looks like, I'm sure it'll be great, and welcome whatever comes down that pipe.
That's awesome. So back to the business side of things. What I'm sure there's people who are looking at this business and maybe they want to get started too, or maybe it was in the back of their mind. What did getting started look like for you? Like, what were your startup costs? And like even more so, like, what did your first year look like? Were there points where you were like, man, I don't know if this shit is even profitable or if it's worth it? Were there any doubts and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, as far as startup costs, I only had a Suburban and a utility trailer. So I was like, we had just had a house flood, and my wife and I were like, well, how can we, this is happening for a reason. We have this opportunity to capitalize on, this situation of like, okay, it's not, our world isn't devastated. This is just what is. So, can we get into this field of demolition and trash hauling? So, um, we had we wanted to buy a diesel truck, and we wanted to buy a brand new uh, trailer, dump trailer. So, that was our first initial cost of getting a dump trailer. We bought a brand new one. We bought the upgraded tires and everything else. So we really thought, okay, well, let's try to invest in quality. So we only have to invest one time, or our investment is gonna be for long term. And we bought an F-450, bought it used, and that was a big leap. That was a big leap. How the fuck are we gonna pay this payment, and how are we gonna afford to make money? And so I was listening to Lex Friedman, and one of his recommendations was that risk big, because your reward is great. And if you're young, risk it all because you have chances are you're going to be able to um, regain it. So even if you lose it, you're going to be able to uh, gather it up again. And I just felt like, okay, well, fuck it. How can we move in that direction? And we started shaking trees and trying to figure out how we're going to get money. And we had this house flood. The contractor asked us to if we wanted to get rid of the waste that they had, the debris and stuff. They would pay us a certain amount to get rid of it. And we're like, okay, well, fuck it, let's do it. And we're like, oh, do you have other jobs? And it just trickled down to that, you know, that path of looking for work and just being a hustler, dude. Just looking for it. And um, we found out that you had a market. Well, I didn't know anything about it. This was the first time we're stepping in that lane. So we're like, oh, okay, marketing. We had spent like 11,000 on marketing that year, and just getting customers and our clientele and stuff like that. So that's how we got started. And the first year was relatively lucrative for us.
Nice. Do you mind sharing? Yeah, I'm sure people want to know. Well, like, roughly, what did you guys make around your first year in business?
I think it was like 150.
Wow, that's incredible. That's
Yeah,
really good for especially in the beginning. That's awesome.
yeah.
And then you mentioned um, like some people might have just stopped there. Like when that guy asked you to do a job in your own home. And like most people would have been like, all right, fine, I'll do the job, whatever. But you took the initiative and were like, do you got any more work? How important has referrals been for you? Um, and like, what makes you stand out from like others in your area? Because I'm sure you have other competitors. Um,
Mhm.
so what kind of like sets you apart? And then how important has like past clients and referrals have been for you?
So word of mouth has been keeping us busy for the last couple of years with steady work. Referrals have been um, something that has kept us growing, and we offer referral fees, for customers that refer us. We give them incentives, and that's a great help for us, and be able to. I believe there's enough out here for everybody. I don't think that this is a famine uh, lane to be in. There's a lot for everybody. So that's that's one type of mentality that I feel like has been helpful. And you know, referrals allow us to grow in the sense of other people know our name. And what sets us apart, I would say, our customer service. When we're out there, I'm out on the job, we're hands on, we're taking care of the working party. And that's our little inside joke that we say, this is our working party. In the military, you know what a working party is. So we
Sure.
that's that's how I like to look at it. This is just a this is just something we're doing right now. you know and as far as growth wise, I would love to grow into bigger, but I also know that my reality is I want to be able to still be connected with my family and not be so to strike that balance of family, business, and pleasure.
Right. So important, man. So important. That's something you always come back to is family. Um, I know for me, I'm getting a lot out of even doing this, hearing you speak about these things. So, um, demolition obviously gets very messy. It's easy to mess things up. You can, hit something and then you make a problem into a bigger problem and it leads to one into the other.
Yes.
Maybe what sets you apart from like such a messy job like that? Like demolition wise? Like you're obviously like breaking stuff. So what kind
Right.
of sets you apart in that area?
Okay, so one thing we do is it's called dust control, and what that does is it minimizes the particles that are in the air. And what we do is we when we're spraying and watering things down, like if we're demoing a house, we have to be spraying that and keeping everything uh, wet and hopefully to the ground. So, but as far as breaking things, I remember I had demoed a mobile home and I had busted a main line and they had to shut the whole mobile home water off. And I remember like thinking, damn, this is gonna cost me some big money, and it did. But I just felt like, okay, well, this is, in the Marine Corps, integrity is everything, right? Like doing the right thing when nobody's looking. And I just was like, wow, this is gonna cost a lot. And I was like, you know what? Hey, we took care of it, addressed the issue, and owned up to our part of uh, the mess, and just move forward with that. But things do happen.
Absolutely. Um, how did your client kind of take it during that? I assume like were they upset? Were they kind of just like kind of like whatever? Or how did you as a business owner, kind of like attack that?
So I told them, hey, I fucked up. I broke the water main as I was pulling the mobile home out. I should have been more careful. It was my fault. I took ownership. Let them know that the course of action was going to be having an emergency plumber come out, and we were going to have to shut off the main, and so just taking care of it and not ducking it and taking the ownership of it is where I felt like, okay, well, this is how professionals do it. You take ownership of the things that you do. I mean, that's how everybody that should do it or whatever. But yeah, that was he was the owner of the mobile home was like, okay, well, get to it, make it happen, and let's put a quickness on this.
That's awesome. Yeah, anyone could, like try to blame it on something else, but um, hey, there's a lot of like I think it's funny because you always refer back to the Marine Corps for stuff like this, and it's cool to see how your experiences have helped you translate to some things outside like ownership, leaving things better than what you found it. Um, like in the Marine Corps, you
Yes.
hear that all the time. Like if something is left shitty, even though you're not the one who did it, if you're the last one to leave, you're gonna clean it up, kind of thing. Um,
Oh yeah.
so it's pretty cool to see you like use that in your business. And then what has helped you scale? You're well above six figures at this point, yearly. So what has helped you scale throughout the years? What has been key for you?
Marketing, being able to get our name out there so other people can know who we are because um, word of mouth only gets you so far. But if we want to scale it up, the marketing is where the growth is.
For sure. Um, and we're kind of almost at the tail end of this, but you mentioned your kids. You kind of want like them to have their own. You're not going to have them like you're not dictating their life, kind of a thing. Yeah, it's more of like whatever they want to do, kind of a thing. So, where do you see your business going eventually? Because like, do you plan on selling it? Where it's just kind of dying, or what do you plan on doing with it?
And it's a great question that I think I'm just I haven't put much thought into that. I haven't really put much thought. I would love for the business to continue because I think there's a need for the labor, for people that there's a demand for demolition. You know, breaking concrete is you see that everywhere, and it's a need. And hauling the concrete away to get it recycled or whatever the case is, that's a need too. And I would hope that wherever this takes me, I mean, I'm open to. So if that means that uh, I need to start planning, that this is a great way to look forward and not just put it up in the air and just like, oh, I hope one day.
Right.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I don't know.
Um, well, I mean, you guys are doing very well right now, so I mean, that's probably won't be till like years from now, years. So, um, but with that being said, for people who are veterans and who maybe even have aspirations to have their own business or something similar, what are some resources that have helped you that maybe other people don't know about who are vets, that has helped you?
The VA, the VA's helped me out with education. So, getting uh, my bachelor's definitely helped me out in the sense of knowing, being literate and being fluent um, in words, on paper, reading, because I wouldn't have read. I didn't read. I didn't know what how to even make my moves forward. So the VA, in the sense of uh, what is it called? Voc rehab. Voc rehab helped me out. So that was
What
that was
exactly is
definitely a
voc rehab?
resource. And Voc rehab is for those that are looking to. They have to have a rating of 30% or higher, and they're uh, they're looking to go back to school, to work, or something, some type of movement in that direction. So yeah, that's what that looks like.
At no expense for you. You just need a 30% rating.
I mean, the expense is the 30% rating, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean that's a pretty it's costly. We tend to overlook that because it's very easy to say, oh well, uh, my rating got me that. It was your sacrifice, and it was you putting your life on the line to earn that, right?
Well, that's a really great point because um, a lot of veterans don't even want to get seen for that reason. They're afraid of what other people are gonna say about them, like look at them a different way, like you have a disability. Like they think that a lot of people have this connotation that you need to be on a wheelchair or like not being able to speak or something like that, to where you
Hmm.
rate disability. But um, you touched on a really great point like that for people who obviously serve. They need to get seen for the stuff they did because you paid the sacrifice for your country. I like the way you said that.
Yeah,
Um,
very important.
so we're wrapping up here. Um, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience before we kind of like wrap up this video? The audience right now, at least, there's a lot of like young folks. Sure, this eventually may reach out to people who are out and separated and stuff like that. So, is there any knowledge or wisdom that you would like to impart before we close this?
Yeah, you know, whatever's inside of you that you want to do, fucking reach for it and let that shit flourish because it's in there for a reason. And chase it down and manifest it. Do whatever you need to do because you are the creator of your reality. So make that shit happen. Get after it and dig deep.
Beautifully said, man. You made me feel like I just took like 2 scoops of pre-workout. That put me up. That was nice.
Yeah.
um, so
Awesome.
for the audience who wants to find you, where can they find you? And again, we'll have everything you're affiliated with and associated with in the description. But where can they find you?
We dump pros on uh, Instagram, Facebook. Uh, dumpyourshit.net is our website. And you can reach me on my email is dumppros1@gmail.com.
Awesome. All right, Eric. Well, thank you so much for this time. I know this podcast kind of went maybe a little a little over than what we were both expecting, but it was a very nice conversation, and I enjoyed every minute
Yes,
of it.
sir.
I definitely left with a lot of knowledge, and I know it's going to help people who are watching this
Thank you,
as well.
man.
So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, brother. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.